So, you wanna go fast. Like, really fast. Well, if that's the case, then you're in the right place. 12 seconds. No, it's not what you're thinking. It's not only the length of the first flight by the Wright brothers, but it's the same amount of time that it takes these cars to trap the quarter mile. That's fast. So fast that this list is faster than most supercars. And for all less than 30 grand. Mind blown. And there's not just one, but 2 cars on this list that will hit over 200 miles per hour. Whoa. So if you're new here, make sure you smash that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Otherwise, it's great to see you guys again. Let's go. All right, those that know me know that I'm a Bavarian boy at heart. So first up on this list is the
so good
BMW M4. In 2014, BMW changed up their lineup a little bit, and they added this guy, the 4 Series. And yes, I'll agree with you, most of them were just kind of boring grocery getters. But one model stood out among the rest. Kind of like me. Well, I'm not a model, but you know what I'm saying. Decades, and I mean decades of motorsport pedigree, blended with a perfectly balanced chassis, helped the BMW M division make this masterpiece. Using plentiful amounts of carbon fiber and aluminum, the engineers at BMW were able to keep the curb weight low and the fun factor high. And when I say high, I mean real, well, at least higher than most. And this was all thanks to the genius electronics that maximized performance and made you kind of feel like Superman driving it at the limit. I mean, not all heroes wear capes, right? And that match was a match made in heaven. Kind of like Brad Danger and mustaches. Pop the bonnet, and the M4 is powered by a twin Turbski 3-liter straight 6, pushing out 425 horsepower. And if you want to impress you and your friends, go 0 to 60 in just 3.7 seconds stock. Those are straight supercar numbers. And well, you're gonna find both the enthusiast and the egocentric douchebag alike behind the wheel. I relate way more with one than the other. Well, kind of relate with both. And regardless of who drives the M4, it's a lethal track weapon. But it's also home at the drag strip as well, because it'll run a 12-second flat quarter mile. Now, none of these cars on this list are gonna be inexpensive per se, but they are cheap considering the amount of performance that you get. Dollar for dollar, there's nothing like the cars on this list. And I think you're gonna be extremely impressed with some of them that we're gonna talk about later on. Because you gotta remember, if you wanna go fast, you gotta spend the cash. And thanks to depreciation, M4s can be found for under 30 grand. That's pretty inexpensive, which is definitely a bargain when this M car was over 60 grand new. And while the M4 is impressive, some enthusiasts don't like that they ditched the V8 of the past. And if you're like them, and like me, and you can't live without a mighty V8 in your life, I don't blame you. Let me ask you a question. What's brash, brutal, badass? I'm talking about the Camaro ZL1, but you'd never think of it as a bargain. Well, until now. For less than 30 grand, you can have a Mustang Eater, an SRT Slayer, heck, the beast is powered by an almighty 6.2-liter supercharged V8. Yeah, I'm kind of screaming because this is extremely exciting. This thing is a bona fide supercar slayer. And with it putting down 580 horsepower to the rear wheels, you're looking at 0 to 60 times in well under 4 seconds and a trap in the quarter mile at 11.93 seconds. Yeah, that build's gonna cost a little bit of dough, but just cam, headers, and an exhaust, and you're looking at over 700 horsepower, which, if you ask me, that's well more than enough to hunt Hellcats. The engineers at Chevrolet are miracle workers because they found a way to push a Camaro to the point where it would do 12-second quarter miles for less than $55,000 brand spanking new, off the showroom floor with a warranty. And if I had to put my finger on it, it's because of one thing. They developed that beastly LS motor. Sadly, you can't have your cake and eat it too, even though I don't even know what that means, but it makes sense right here. Because, well, the interior is just kind of slapped together, and it looks and feels pretty cheap. So while the ZL1 is not lathered in luxury, who cares? It's made to do one thing, and one thing extremely well. Go really f***ing fast. And oh baby, does this thing get the job done. And thanks to the official mascot of Ideal Media, depreciation, they can be had for less than $25,000. Now, I know for some of you, because I see it in the comments all the time, having a cheap interior is gonna be a deal breaker. And there's some people that are subscribed here that, well, they just wanna go fast while they're sitting in their comfy massaging seats. I know who you are. And for you guys, well, let's sit behind the wheel of an Audi S8, shall we? Yeah, if you were to buy one of these puppies new, you would be $110,000 lighter. But the S8, it means business. See, it's based off of Audi's ultra luxury A8, but like the Germans do so well, it was stuffed by a twin turbski V8 producing over 500 horsepower. And you wanna know a fun fact that I bet you didn't know? 0 to 60 comes in 3.5 seconds. Yeah, it's that fast. You will leave a Gen 1 V8 R8 in the dust. And this thing has aged extremely well. To this day, the S8 looks like a bazillion bucks. Well, more like $1 million, but it sounded better. Regardless, you don't have to be a bazillionaire to afford one now, because you can get one for around 24,000 bucks. That's about 25% of the original asking price. And it's an Audi, not an innie. So it's gotta be plagued with problems, right? Well, actually, wrong. Most S8 owners are actually surprised by the car's reliability. Yeah, a few run into issues with the air suspension, and there's been a couple instances where the turbskis blow, but surprisingly, overall, these beasts have been proven to be reliable. And that confidence-inspiring quattro all-wheel drive makes it one of the most capable all-year-round cars for really any climate. But if you're itching for a rear-wheel drive tire slayer, what's up, Damon? This next car might be for you. Well, not for Damon Fryer, but for you watching. Back again are my boys over at BMW. This time with an M5. The BMW M5 has been around for generations, decades. It almost feels like they've been around for centuries. Well, I think the E28 was like in the 80s, so I mean, I don't know, like 30 plus years. But the BMW boys have taken all that technology, power, and luxury and wrapped it all up into an iconic BMW sedan. Now, the M5 isn't just your base 5 Series with a hopped up engine. Oh no. See, this BMW M5 was the first to be had with the dual clutch transmission, which is not only one of my favorites, with improved shift times and 7 gears to play around with. And let's not mention how much better it is than the SMG gearbox in the previous gen. Whew, that was a nightmare. But because of the trick transmission, you actually got better fuel mileage. But we're all here to go fast and burn gas. And that transmission, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, helped the M5 lap the Nürburgring faster than the Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale. And somehow, some way, the BMW boys put this thing on a Jenny Craig diet. Because I kid you not, it's lighter than a BMW M2. So with all this info, it makes sense this thing does the quarter mile in less than 12 seconds. Now, there is an asterisk here. If you want to row your own gears, and if you want to preserve manual transmissions, go snag the Save the Manuals tee. But the manual transmission in this Gen M5 does the quarter mile in 12.1 seconds. But honestly, that's the transmission I would get, even though I do love the DCT. And for once, us Americans weren't completely shafted, because we were actually the only ones that caught a manual M5. So we're the ones that can blast down the PCH, eating our Big Mac, and row in our own gears, baby. And thanks to depreciation, this M5 can be had for less than a brand new Nissan Altima. You know, the rental car special that Hertz is probably unloading a lot of right now. But I know a lot of you like to have options, and maybe the manual M5 is not enough for you. Well, this next car will definitely get the job done. How does a front engine, rear wheel drive V8 putting 505 naturally aspirated horsepower down to the ground sound? Sweet, right? This is the only car on the list that's available in any transmission configuration that you want, as long as it's a manual. And with that said, it's the quickest to hit the quarter mile mark, taking only 11.7 seconds. When you peek under the hood, there is an LS7 rocket staring right back at you. And oh baby, this thing sounds McNasty, going 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. Thanks to its low curb weight, the Z06 is an absolute autocross animal. But you've been warned, with all that power on tap, you might end up like this. Ouch. But all that power is good for cleaning up your lawn too. How convenient. I guess the cup's always half full, because it can be hard to handle, but if you get it right, dreamy. The Z06 will go like a bat out of hell. And with a cam, intake, and exhaust, you can let the bald eagles fly while gapping Hellcats like it's no big deal. I'm honestly surprised not more people own these incredible machines. It's awesome in a straight line. It goes over 200 miles per hour, which if you want to learn the quickest ways to go 200 miles per hour, check out this ideal vid. And the Z06 has superb handling. It kind of has the reputation of a V8 Miata in my eyes. At least that's how I felt when I drove it. And for the same price as a new Miata, you could get a used Z06. For a lightweight sports car, I don't know. Which one would you pick? Let me know down in the comments. The next car on this list has a much different approach. By taking decades of research and development, the guys over at Porsche, well, they decided to get into the luxury sedan market with this car, the Porsche Panamera. Some say it resembles a 911 limousine, but I just call it confused. Models of the Panamera range from the standard V6 putting out 300 respectable horsepower to the in-your-face 500 horsepower Turbski. The Panamera Turbo will transport 4 full-sized adults to 60 in 3.7 seconds. And if you keep the pedal to the metal, quarter mile will come in 12 seconds flat. Just because it's a big luxury sedan, you can't forget that it's still a Porsche. Or is it Porsche? Is it Porsche? Porsche. Porsche. Can't forget. And when you push the tires to the limits of adhesion, it still corners like it's on rails. So it begs the question, is the Panamera Turbo the do-it-all Porsche? Maybe, but a 911 will always have a place in my heart and my garage. Brand new, the Panamera Turbo started north of $130,000. But today, guess what? You can get one for less than 30 grand. But believe it or not, that is not the winner when it comes to depreciation. Because if you want a car that costs nearly $200,000 brand new, and now you can pick it up for less than 30 grand, yeah, that's right. You can pick up a Mercedes-Benz SL65 AMG for less than 30 grand. Oh yeah, did I mention that this thing comes with a twin Turbski V12? Putting out more than 600 horsepower and over 700 foot-pounds of torque? That's similar spec to what the Pagani Huayra puts down. So is it a coincidence that AMG supplies Pagani with their engines? I think not. Heck, those are impressive numbers even by today's standards. And did I mention that the SL65 also comes in a hardtop convertible? Oh yeah, it does. And it is beautiful. And regardless if you get coupe or convertible, this thing is littered with luxury, pampering its drivers with only the most extravagant materials. Now it's pretty well known that electronics, well, they're not the SL65 strong suit, and they tend not to work from time to time. But the one that I would be happy that it never worked was the top speed limiter. Yes, deconstricted, the SL65 is another animal. It's in a league of its own. This thing will go mind-blowing fast, beating supercars, hypercars, any type of cars. Yes, 211 miles per hour is how fast this thing will go. Let that sink in. For less than a mid-range Camry, you could be hanging with supercars or hypercars at over 200 miles per hour. Yeah, just sitting there drinking some tea. Hey, what's up, Pagani? What's up, Bugatti? For like, not a lot of money. Unfortunately, that's where all the fun's gonna end, because these cars, they all have a laundry list of problems. Most mechanics won't even touch them. And if they do, you're gonna be putting their kid through college with how much the repair bill is. But just remember, this thing can do over 200 miles per hour. So tell me, would you take the chance? I mean, I don't know if I would, and a car that you would probably have better odds on is a BMW M6. Yep, that's right, another BMW. The M6 hits 60 in 3.8 seconds and finishes the quarter pounder in 12 seconds flat. I must be hungry because I meant quarter mile. Now, the M6 is BMW's biggest M car, so it's not quite as sporty as the M4 or as fast as the M5. But don't let that fool you, because the M6 brings a lot to the table. Offered in a coupe, convertible, and even a sedan, the M6 has a configuration for everyone. Well, everyone with over 100 grand to spend, unless you buy it used. But more on that in just a minute. The 4.4-liter turbocharged V8 puts out 560 horsepower, which is just enough to squeak a 12-second pass down the strip. And the last time that I drove one, I criticized it a little bit for not having that real M car driving experience. But then you gotta remember that this thing weighs nearly as much as a freight train. It's about 1,000 pounds heavier than an M4 of the exact same year. And with all that extra weight, the M6 still makes it on this list. And I don't know about you, but there's something just so special about the M6. Just take a listen to this. Yeah, you're not gonna break any fuel efficiency records in this thing, but you can still snag one for under 30 grand. So whether the M6 is a Bavarian bargain or just a bonkers beamer, it definitely earns a spot on this list. So if you're like me and you like to live your life a quarter mile at a time and you wanna slay supercars for less than 30 grand, my ideal pick is the Savage ZO6. Not only do you get to keep up with all your compadres on the Autobahn, but you can absolutely slay some turns and sound extremely good doing it. And it has good old American reliability, which is pretty much as reliable as you getting a new ideal video every other day. So, which one would you choose? Let us know down in the comments. And let me know what other cars that you would have put on this list. Oh, and also keep living that ideal lifestyle.